Okay.
We gotta do one. I gotta do one more thing once this is done.
No
Once this is going,
problem.
which is hit
Okay.
the mute button on Twitch because Twitch is evil.
Oh God, why?
Why?
Mhm.
Sorry, that would be why what you just heard there. Because what
It's
happens,
evil because it makes sounds. It's evil because it has a voice,
it
Josh.
is that's exactly it. Well, it's more like I always say this when I start this. Twitch and imagine Twitch and Zoom are like big brother, little brother. I'm gonna let you
Okay,
figure out which is which. They don't like each other
sure.
very much, and most of the time when
Um,
the parents not looking, they try to punch each other out.
what was that last part?
Most of the time when the parents aren't looking, they're trying to punch each other
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
You got
Got
siblings
it.
by any chance? Do you have siblings?
Yes, for sure.
Are you the
Two.
oldest? Are you
Yes,
oldest? You're the oldest. Oh, okay. So,
absolutely.
so then you know as well as I just got I'm the oldest too. See, they're out to get you always. They're always out to get
Always,
you, right?
always. And I
And they
couldn't live without them, quite honestly. But
no,
yes, always.
oh no, no. See, that's the thing. Like siblings have this weird like relationship vibe. Like we can do things to each other that we will
Yeah,
never in a million years do to anybody else.
that's the beauty of it. I dropped a rock on my youngest sister. We're all like a year and a half apart, so we're very close in age. But the youngest one, I dropped a rock on her head when we were little, um, to see if it hurt.
That seems.
The
That's
answer
it.
was yes.
Yes,
It
it
was
did.
substantial rock too. It was like a both hands rock, and I was like up on the swing set, and it went like down. I was just like literally. I remember that moment. I was just like, I wonder if boink.
Yeah, I know. It's like totally right, right, right. No, we have, and I'm sure she's done her own stuff to you, and you're like, why? Why did you do that?
Not like my I definitely outweigh the not as much
See,
as I've done to her.
no, it's fair. It's fair.
I'm
To
oldest, so that's why.
well, it goes. See, here's the thing. Like you get punished. Like as the oldest, you get punished for stuff
Right.
that the
Yeah.
youngest no, they don't. They don't because
They
you're the
never
one that
they
they
get
make
away
all
with
the.
like it's insane.
Yeah, no,
But that's
no,
why
it's
I
so
get
true.
yeah, no. I mean, my sister threw parties at my parents' house. This is a house that I was afraid to have friends over because like I get grounded if a sock was left in the hallway kind of house. So
Yeah.
when I left for college and then learned Selena through like party, I was just like like you have a death like just how and also why aren't you in trouble because she was never in trouble.
But that's how it works.
That's
Now,
how it
now, my,
works. I
now,
know.
now, now, my sister is younger than me, but she was the troublemaker. I was the quiet one, and I'm not just
Mm,
saying that.
I was
That was
both.
just, yeah, yeah, yeah. No. It's the truth. So she would get in more, I think, in more trouble than the average, but because that would be just because if she wasn't, she just ruined the house. I mean, that was just the way she was. But
Yeah.
but she would get away with shit sometimes, and I was just like, I would look at her. It's like, how I can't, right? If I try, I just get it. Like I just
You
get like,
can't.
yeah,
It's the duty of the oldest. It's
yeah.
just our responsibility.
The oldest always takes the brunt because again, we're the ones the parents learn with. So what happens
Yeah.
is by the time they get to the middle
And the
and the
baby, they're like,
youngest, they have a bit more like, okay, I kind of been down this road before. So the other thing too is we surprise parents a little bit with some of the shit we pull off because we're like because they're like, how can you do this? But now, so what happens is we break the door down. So when the siblings start doing their own little bits of stupid shit, it's
yep.
like that now the parents have been desensitized to it a little bit because they've dealt with our
Yes.
crap, right?
Yes. Well, I really think it comes down to fear. And I think as a first time parent, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my. I think there's a lot of fear around that. So you're trying to do all these, you're doing the human thing with
Yeah.
fear and control of another person. You're like, if I like, don't do this, don't fuck up, like all these rules to make sure that I don't like have anything bad happen to this child. I must do all these things. You have this like idea of what like that should be. And then you slowly realize like,
Like
okay, I'm like,
whatever.
I don't know if it ever gets to whatever, but like, like,
Oh,
but yeah, exactly.
it doesn't entirely get to real. Like I said, parents when they start, they have to take on the role of supervillain. I truly believe
Yeah,
that because
sure.
the objective is, see, the kids are trying to take over the house,
Yeah.
right?
And I did.
Well, no. Inevitably, they do. That's the thing. Like you're gonna lose the battle, but the
Hmm.
objective of the parent is, I think, to make sure that when they do take over the house, they're actually ready to take over the house,
I
right?
feel like it's like really primal, like first couple of weeks, like the main goal of the parent is don't like drop this, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
real
oh
basic,
yeah,
like don't fuck this up. Can I swear? I'm sorry.
yeah. And you can see, yeah. I only have two. I only have two rules. So here are the two rules: don't be a bigot, and the second rule is if you're gonna be a dick, be an entertaining one.
Okay.
Does that fair?
I guess I can't be a dick then because I cannot for the life of me be entertaining.
Okay, that's fair. So I mean, but I think that's a reasonable thing. I mean,
It's a great rule.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
like
My
I like
ADD
this.
brain derailed. It's 7:46 over here. So if I get off topic of my thought, I'm gone.
Don't worry. Don't the whole. Okay, so the whole thing of this show. Here's the thing. We're gonna get to know Keight. This is the whole idea behind this show. Is we're gonna have a conversation about whatever the fuck we have a conversation about. And honestly, and from a, I'm not saying I don't care about you, but I'm saying I really don't care what we talk about.
Yeah,
We
I
can
get
talk.
that.
Yeah, the important thing is I get to know you as a person, because you as a person, I believe is awesome. Now we're going to find out if this is actually true, but but I have a feeling. I mean, anybody that's watching this is going to watch you coming out from the sideways. I mean, it's 1042. So I mean, and see. So the thing is, I have a particular thing fondness for 42 because I'm a book guy, right? So Hitchhiker's
42.
Guide, yeah.
Go ahead.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. 42 is
Yep.
the answer to everything.
Love.
So
Yes.
yeah.
I do know 42.
Yes.
I just like numbers, like like for instance, immediately when you said 1042, I was like, oh, it's a 7 number, cool. So that's going to mean like there's a kind of like consciousness type vibe to this whole experience, because 7 is the number of consciousness. I love numbers, and each number, I didn't realize that like people didn't. Okay, let me back up. I can't remember what this is called because it's a word that is blah, 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 but
Okay.
like it was like very late in life that I learned that not everybody like innately sees letters and numbers as colors. Like they just like B is blue. It's like a specific blue. And this is it's not a disorder, it's a thing.
No. Okay, so here's the other thing. I'm incredibly open-minded. Like I really am. I don't like I said, I know this, like 90% of everybody on this planet, we're more alike than we're different. It's that 10% that's us, that makes us us. And the thing is, like, I don't, based on what I've seen of your profile, right? What I've seen your profile, you definitely you play with some magical things, magic with a K for people that wondering, or for people that are wondering. I don't necessarily, again, it's not necessarily my realm of things, but it's also at the same token, it's like I don't know your path. I don't. Like one of those things is like that, and I say it like that because we've all walked a certain way, right? And the thing is, I try very hard to say, you know what? I'm going to be open. I'm going to see it. You have your own way of seeing things. It's no less real than mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that makes it fun. Like that 10% is a whole, like that perspective can get, that 10% can widen so big. It's like zooming in when you're editing a video, when you get curious, and about yourself too.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that is just based in, like, you know, the number one like philosophical rule, and I think the original philosophical statement, like, know thyself. And also know nothing, because then it's like it's boring otherwise. If you know it all, then why experience life? Like, it's every minute is an opportunity, every second's an opportunity to not know something and therefore experience something.
So I have a theory behind that. You want to hear my theory?
Sure. Of course.
So I think deep down, we all, when we start out in this world, we want to be the biggest thing in it, and we are afraid of being small. Now,
sure,
right? I think so. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking? And please don't feed me for
I'm
asking this question.
37. No, I love
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
37.
Okay, I'm 42. Legit,
Wow.
right? Right.
Ah,
So
42. No way. That's
yeah.
great.
So, but here's the thing. The older I get, the smaller I become. And I
Interesting.
don't, and I think that's actually a good thing, because what that means is I am ready to see. I think the biggest thing about North America today, in period, and I think politics are the best example of this. We all kind of want to be the center of the universe. There's still that old, like, like I call it the anti-Galileo thing. Is we all want to be kind of like the,
Heliocentric.
well, yeah, no, just yeah, because
Mhm.
what happens, I think, and what's happened today is everybody wants to be caught up in their own little world of how they see things, and I'm a big enough man to acknowledge that I could be wrong, and that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
world is bigger than I can imagine it to be. So going back to your perspectives and how you see things, right? I am sure there are things we are going to disagree upon, but I don't necessarily think.
Absolutely. It's the nature. Like there's when it comes down to right and wrong, bad and evil are subjective in the sense that they are a human uh like invention that isn't um like empirical matter. It's not like a fact of what you can't look in the dictionary and be like, oh, this all falls under wrong and right. That's what makes it, you know like people like we forget that it's just something that we decided was a lot. It's like the dichotomy thing, this line that this is there and this is there and it's either one side or the other, and it's you know we don't have to believe in right and wrong if we don't want to. That's what I mean when I say
I,
it's not on this earth. Like,
I I have a slight, okay, so here's my take on it. I do think there is a right and wrong, but I think what it is I think it's both very narrow and very wide. And here's what I mean by that. I think being honest, having integrity, accountability
sure,
for
yeah, yeah,
yourself,
yeah, yeah,
those kind of
absolutely.
things, they are undeniably parts of, I think you cannot be a moral person without those things. I don't
I
think it's
totally agree.
yeah,
I
right,
agree. Yeah.
right. But that all said, like okay, I believe in God. I get the feeling that if I'm wrong, just correct me on this. Probably some form of goddess of some kind, right?
I have a tattoo on my look.
Yeah,
It
sure.
says kill your gods. This was before I became a little spiritual. I was philosophy
Yeah, yeah,
educated.
yeah, yeah,
It's neither nor. It's both
yeah. Sure,
and
sure.
neither. Yeah, sure.
Okay, but all right. Maybe you have a more agnostic approach. Maybe like whatever. Like it doesn't
Yeah, it's
like.
whatever. It's God, the source thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I look at it more along the lines of, I look at it more along the lines of, okay, you come to your own perspective. Now, as long as you have honesty, integrity, and transparency,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
Most of the rest of this, and a little compassion, I would say a compassion as well.
A lot
As
of
long as you have,
compassion.
as long as you have all of those, if you have all four of those things, I truly could give a shit about the rest of it. Right,
I
right.
agree.
Yeah,
I totally
right.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Let me make the distinction of what I meant was only that I 100% agree. I only meant in a very like clinical way of looking at it. Wrong and right doesn't exist in the sense that it doesn't. You know what I
No.
mean? That's not to say that there isn't a wrong and right in the set. Like I do believe, I have views on my moral compass, and I do think following your moral compass is right. I do think like humanity, the humane way is the right way,
Hmm.
kind of thing. But that's a separate thing than just like the existence of the because it's a concept.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and I think what's happening in Western civilization in particular right now is our concept has broken down.
We don't
And
know. Yeah, we have no idea,
yeah, no,
which is
that's
cool in one way, but it's also like
well, well, the thing is, if you don't have politics is the best example of this in today. People have a natural instinct that go to a particular tribe. Now, politically speaking, I'm an atheist, and what I mean by that is I think they're all. I don't, again, those honesty, integrity, compassion, those things. I don't see
Yeah.
it in any form of political spectrum in at least the Western world
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
because I don't see it, but the thing is, but since there is no example of that, there's no concrete example of that, what happens is people will go, okay, I am going to pick the one that I identify with the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct, but it's the one that
Mm-hmm.
maybe that has the most you can resonate with it better, right? So what happens there is now this is a dangerous thing is I can no longer I can there for a lot of people I can no longer talk politics with
Mm-hmm.
because what tends to happen is okay, my perspective again is I don't necessarily think there's a good person right now to vote for in the United States or in Canada for that matter where I'm at. But the thing is, I can't debate if I go, well, this is why I think this way. People that naturally gravitate to that person now are going to feel like I'm attacking them, and I'm not. I'm just
Yeah.
criticizing the system as I see fit today. But the thing is, we've come to because we don't have that, we don't have an example or a standard to hold these people accountable to. And because we don't have that standard, right? And on top of that, what makes that worse too is like, I don't know if you can actually make a legit, like, again, I'm not saying Trump's a good person. I'm not saying Biden's a good person, but I don't really know, like, if you don't have a standard, how is, how can you make one better than the other? You know what I mean?
When it's like a monkey house on all sides and it's just a very absurd, we get to this very existential place with like the idea of just, well, like, why like it is this absurdity that we're dealing
Oh
with
yeah.
and this like true farce of a world stage as far as politics go, and it's really tricky to take any position in a system that is currently absurd.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like,
So at this point, basically, my conclusion is I'm going to go fish and drink and
yeah,
fish and
absolutely.
let people with again. But that's again, folks. If that is literally my political stance. There's no
Yeah,
standard to
yeah,
go. There's no. I have to go by my personal standard because there is no other standard, and by my personal standard, not like none of them qualify. And if none of them
sure, yeah,
qualify,
absolutely.
right? If none of them, if
Right.
not, right? So that's how I look at things, and but again, that's the problem today. Like because you can say what you want about like the rest of the world, where they right, the rest of the world does have a bit of an idea of what their identity is and what their standard is as a result of that. And I'm not saying it's perfect everywhere else, but I think they're a lot farther away from breaking down on certain things than we are right now. And again I don't just have to look at politics. I can look at the banking system, corporations. I can
Mm-hmm.
look at our education system today. It has all become a lot more absurd,
Oh,
and I
we're
think it's
breaking down.
yeah.
We are breaking. And it's just, on one hand, I'm kind of happy about it. When like
And
things started to just crumble during 2020, like everything, like all
yeah.
our like systems and foundations, like our hierarchical, like it was just like, okay, you know,
Mhm.
ah.
No,
But
it needs to happen, but
exactly.
I am
Yes.
sad about it too, you know, at the same
Of
time.
course, because it's also causing a lot of, there's a lot of pain that goes with it. Think about when something has to change in your own life that you have to let go, like
Hmm.
breakdowns in your own life, you know what I mean, that mirror this kind of, it's not fun. It's mainly painful, it's mainly, there's like mourning to it, and it's a lot of um toughness the entire time. um but you get spit out the other side
Yeah.
in a position that's, if you do get spit out the other side, you broke down for a reason, and then you get to start to move forward with like new bricks to build a new foundation that will be better for you in the long run, and for us
Abs-
too.
Absolutely. But there is, but sometimes you're sorry that you have to go through the ass kicking, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. You have to go
Absolutely.
through
No,
it.
it sucks. There's
Yeah.
no, both can, it can be, both can be true, where this can be a good thing, the breakdown of everything, like the like the apocalypse of like society as we know it can be, is because it's not great, it's not doing us well, and probably it will like end us if we continue on that road. So on one hand, it is a good thing that we can simultaneously hold that belief and also understand that it's also the most painful uh, point that we've ever experienced as a human race together.
Mhm.
And what I thought was so cool about 2020 was I was like, oh my God, this is like, we're all this. I just couldn't get over like the whole humanity, all of us, we're like all experiencing this craziness. Remember in the beginning when it was like, what is this? What's happened? Then lockdown, and you're like, okay, it's 2 weeks. And like, then just, we all went through that. The
Oh
whole
yeah.
world did as a species. I thought that was just so cool. And, you know, I also think that the, the heightening of the battles of differences and that line between the differences is a sign of we're moving forward. We're
Mhm.
moving into a new, I'll call it paradigm, into our new, like, you know,
Mhm.
the Enlightenment or the Bronze Age or any of these big like societal changes. um I think it's, people fight, you resist the most right before the change. That's why
Yeah.
you, that's why you're fighting the most, like fighting a tide.
Well, it depends. I have 12 rules to my own path to success. Talking about this, so my
12
eighth
rules.
12 rules.
Cool.
The eighth rule is to stay uncomfortable. Life is
Yeah,
change.
absolutely. Yeah.
Life is change. Like it's just the way it is, and the more you fight that, like when you have stuff to lose, it's harder for sure in some ways. But the reality is, like nothing, like we are not meant to have anything forever. We're just not. So
Everything can go.
okay, okay, look at this conversation, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
talked to you for a grand total of 20 minutes. Now, hopefully, right now, just based on this conversation, totally like to have another conversation with you again at some point down the road because I think because you're a lot of, I can already tell just based on this conversation you're a hoot, right? So you're a hoot, and I think I enjoy hanging with you. But the thing about it is, right? I don't have that guarantee. This is now. This is all there. Like this is the only thing I have. There's the only certainty is I have this moment. There's no
Yeah.
guarantees for tomorrow. So I treat it as what it is. It's like an opportunity to get to know you, and that's kind of how I'm treating this, right? So
Yeah.
that's the real important thing in this moment. Now, whether we have another conversation or not, that is for the future to decide. But for the moment, right? But for the moment, this is the here and the now, because nothing's permanent. Nothing's like everything is. There's a certain impermanence to everything, right? One day
Mm-hmm.
I will not be here anymore, and I know this. So if I know this, I have to like I got to assume that every day I'm here is a day I'm trying to live my best life, whatever that looks like for me or
Yeah.
and right. So the thing about 2020, I think a lot of people got confronted with the idea of their mortality
Oh yeah. Yeah.
in that moment. And there was a certain and outside forces, I think we're utilizing that basic fear to try to amplify certain things, I think.
Sure.
And it works on a lot of people. Using fear as a form of control is something that's been classically done in history. I think that was definitely a period of that, but it was
We're
also an
still in
opportunity.
that period for sure.
Some of us more so than others, for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's so I kind of think I fall into like what happens usually. I did a study on I did a little bit reading about like fear and what fear does to the mind over an extended period of time. And what
Yeah.
happens is after about 2 years, which is about when the pandemic ended, like the fear of the thing dies. It just does. Now we have other existential fears of a little bit of each other, but also because in those moments, in moments of real crisis, you find out who you truly are. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of us have diverted from each other too, because what do you stand for? And some people just want to follow the established orders. Some people want to go on their new path, and some people are caught in old paradigms. Some people want to find new paradigms. Like there was a definite like breaking shift. I think that sped up a process that would have probably have happened if things had gone slightly
100%. Yeah.
more
Yeah.
normal. Probably would have taken another 20, 30 years to get to this point, but we got here now. So now the real question is, what's next? Now, I personally believe that we're heading towards. So one of my favorite novels is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, and one of my
No
favorite.
crap.
It was made into a TV show, but the idea behind it is it's a cyberpunk thriller. It's back in the vein of William Gibson. But one of the things he talked about was the whole idea of the Tower of Babel, and the idea that like centralized power, you can look at it kind of like a Tower of Babel. So we could very there with AI and the way technology is there's one road that we could all go down is this Tower of Babel road. The flip side to that coin is I think is when it's like putting marbles in a corner and they all just like eventually just scatter into their own directions. That is where I think we're going. The question to me, the only real question I have is how we get there. Now we can get there in a relatively easygoing way because the tools are there. Like where are you exactly, if you don't mind my asking? Like
I'm in this is my room.
Yeah.
I'm in Massachusetts.
You're in Massachusetts. Okay. Okay. So I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Okay. Just to give you an idea of distance. And we're having a conversation right now. That's an amazing like,
isn't it crazy? I love tripping out still on just like even telephones. Like,
yeah,
my voice is it's awesome. But
yeah, right.
I mean, like it's a cool thing because it reflects how connected and instantaneous and quantum everything really is. In palpable
absolutely
way.
Right now there are a couple things like in person. I make eye contact with you. I probably try to make you laugh a lot more because you're cute and do that kind of thing. But the thing is, we can still essentially have a conversation, right? And that's important because that's a cool tool. But we have this kind of communication. Our infrastructure needs today versus even what they were 20 years ago are vastly different now. We don't need the same kind of government or systems of control that we had in the past. But we have a lot of these old systems on top of these old systems. So what's happening is, I think right now is the conflict going on right now is this idea of, okay, we are heading to decentralization. So we can either but there's also this grasp to try to centralize everything in this system, right?
We've outgrown the system, the skin, it's very clear.
Yeah.
But the system is inherently slow. So that we've outgrown, it's like it's like we hit puberty as like, and it is not fitting, but we don't have any other clothes. So we're still we're like, we need to sew the pants a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good analogy, right? But that's what's happening.
Work anymore. Yeah. No. None of it is really working or fitting us. And we're struggling to fit, like, how do we do this? How do we change this? How, like, there's not a system in place for us hitting puberty yet.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we have to reimagine things. Now I think the best way to do it is ironically going back to something as simplistic as community and connection. Now, that's my take, because I think again, going back to something I said earlier, the lack of structure I think that exists today, it can also be traced to the fact that there's a lack of structure in a lot of people's lives today.
Yep.
So having a community, I guess I'm not talking like a large city, but a small community of people that are around you that you're working with and they working with you, I think rebuilds that structure a little bit, right? And it would be different for, and the thing is, it would allow for everybody to kind of have their own way of doing things. The only thing you would need a government system for is for a couple of the same reasons you always do, is that, okay, look, you and I think we generally would get along, but let's say that we got into a fight over something stupid like what color the sky is. Now, if we can't come to an understanding with each other, you need something from the outside to kind of go, okay, this is how we make our peace or broker peace. And that's when the government's good for. But we're not looking at it from the same point of view anymore. We're looking at it from an advisory capacity, not necessarily a running the show kind of thing. And I think what's going to end up happening is, as a result of everything happening is everybody's going to kind of pick their own directions and find whatever comfort zones they have, right? And find that like and go there. Now, do we get there before or after we try to put all the marbles in the corner? That's my only question, right?
Mhm.
I think there's going to be a, just by design, that thing to push those marbles into a corner. I don't think
You
that
don't think they're trying, they, as Heidegger, my favorite philosopher, would say, isn't trying to push all those marbles into a corner, and that's where I'm
Oh no, no,
like,
I do, but I also
I mean,
think
pushing them away, like, because it feels like the powers that be are the intention behind, if that that the intention feels like split, as
mhm,
you said, the Machiavellian like fear thing.
yeah.
um and like, I think I think that splitting is what what will what will ruin us, like, or where it's not, it's just gonna, that's where we're like pushed to go to, for malicious means. But I think actually the marbles coming together, like starting when, like in 2020, when we had a global thing going on that you and I could talk across the internet, like the marbles are moving faster
Yes.
together. Our information is faster than the
Mhm.
uh like the other powers that be can
Well,
keep up with, like.
I just think that it's the whole concept of there's an old paradigm, as you would say,
Yeah, yeah,
still
absolutely.
trying to maintain what power it
Yes.
has.
Yeah. And we're past that. We're like basically there. We just haven't.
Well, I think I just look at I just look at the the tools that exist today. Like the tools are there that we can go this way, but I also can see they going the other way too. Like I think we're at a crossroads where
Yeah.
we can choose our own adventure on this one. And what I think is going to happen, I think initially, just based on what I've seen, I think there's going to be an attempt to consolidate these things, consolidate the old paradigm in some new way. Now, I don't think it's going to work for very long because I think we've come to a point where again, there's just too much knowledge out there, and also a lot of us I don't know about you, but at this point, if certain officials told me that the sky was blue and I saw a blue sky, I would be wondering in the back of my head what are they
Mhm.
really up to. Like
Yeah.
I've hit that point in my life. I just do not trust. It's not a party. It's just basically I don't trust the system anymore, and I've hit that point. And
We all have. Yeah, for sure.
a lot of us have, not everybody, right? Like, but the thing is, it's just like what happened again. There's been a wake up, and it's just like, okay, so what are we gonna do with it? And I think the real issue is people haven't figured out, like, okay, I'm in Canada. Canadians love order. Like, if we have this choice between freedom and to the unknown and something we're old and comfortable with,
Mhm.
by and large, Canadians will choose the old and comfortable. They will, right? It's just their
Most humans usually, like, in general, that's our that's what we choose, just because it's a survival thing. You
yeah.
know, we go
Oh
towards
yeah.
order.
I understand it, but at this particular point in time, right? I don't think that's the correct answer anymore. Right now, the correct answer right now is to take some chances. But then again, I'm naturally, I think, more inclined to be a risk taker. So I take risks. I mean, I write and I podcast. It's my regular job now. And it's not me. I do other things, but this is it. This is what I do. I have a big ass mouth and I talk to people and I tell occasionally terrible jokes and I'm good at it, right? But I made that decision. It's again, it's one of those things. I'm naturally a risk taker, so I'm looking right now as a time to take these risks because
Mhm.
everything's in flux and everything has changed.
Absolutely. We're
Right?
basically in a risk, so might as well be risking along with it. We're in a big unknown, so we might as well accept that,
Yeah.
you know, I honestly think the tools that we're lacking right now, I don't think we have the tools completely. I mean, we do, we just haven't like tapped into them completely,
Oh,
like
sure.
all together. And And those tools are um, actually, I think, like consciousness and um, conversation and inner sense of like identity, like inner sense of self. Um, because those are the pillars that if we understand those, then the outside stuff won't be a bunch of like, I gotta control because like this is the thing I can control. Because you have control over your being, yourself, and how you exist. And
For the
go
most
ahead.
part. For the most part.
Yeah.
I think is one thing is, again, this is me being older slash wiser. I realized about, I'd say 3 4 years ago, I got a weird sickness, and it was like this red, like almost like a rash, but it was worse because of the stuff that was coming out of me hurt coming
Oh my
out of me.
God.
Right?
What? That's
Yeah, yeah.
terrible.
Oh, it was. I was insomniac for like 3 or 4 months.
Oh
Oh,
God.
right. During that time, I was I went through hell, but I
Yeah.
realized I realized that we take a lot of what we do for granted.
Yes.
Like the only thing I know for sure I can control is how I look at a situation.
Absolutely.
Outside of that, I don't like. I have a lot less say than I realize. Now, I think that's a good thing because
Mhm.
by nature I'm a fuck up, and I know that if I was the one in charge, it would look like me. And I'm not saying that I'm all bad, but I think there, you know what, I'm okay not having that kind of power, right?
Yeah, but that kind of power is not like, what do you mean you're a fuck up by whose standards? Therefore,
Oh,
who would we put in power?
no. I'm
I'm
just
just
saying, like,
saying, like,
no,
it's
no. I'm just saying,
absurd.
like for me, I look at it like I'm human. I make mistakes. I do
Oh yeah,
things.
I get what you're
Right,
saying.
right. I'm human.
Yeah.
I make again, the old alcoholic anonymous. That, hi, I'm Josh. I make mistakes. Very much I realize that the nature, again, going back to like integrity, accountability, and stuff for a second. I realize that I'm not necessarily the guy best suited to lead the charge into the future, just because of my own nature. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily a bad person or anything like that. I just feel like power doesn't like change you. I think power just shows who you really are, and I'm not sure I'd want that kind of responsibility with everybody else. Like I just don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah, I
that would
get that.
be right,
Yeah.
right. I don't know if I'd want that. What I would want is I want freedom, but I don't necessarily want and I'm cool with the consequences of my own actions. I'm not so cool with the like they said, the responsibility thing, because if I do really make a mistake, I pay for it. And if someone else pays for my mistakes, that's
Then we get into consequences and punishment and a bunch of human things that I do actually believe are part of the system that's falling away. Can you
yeah.
picture like in 200 years, like maybe when we really like evolved a bunch in the line that we seem to have in the trend that we seem to have been going in, like, can you imagine there's like us existing without a person in power because we were
Hmm.
all because we were all basically mature enough to handle ourselves like and really, a person in power is what is that? That's external power. So like that power is, it really comes down to what is power to you, and the ultimate power to you is always going to be power, your power, as you said, things like my perception over things. But I do think we could evolve into a place where we're uh not like the warring siblings, that we're like able to be adults and like hold our own selves. Like we do a lot of weird and fucked up shit as as a species because we have these like
No, it's okay.
like just the concept of, oh Josh, you could be a mistake, like that fucks shit up. And it even
Oh,
more fucks shit up when we make rules and consequences, dire ones that could also be wrong, about um the idea of mistake. I'm not saying that that's not like we should everybody just blah 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 because we're not ready for it now. I'm just saying that like that I could see slipping away into the old paradigm.
I I'm gonna say I don't. I think it could evolve a little bit. I don't know if it entirely goes away, and the reason why I say that, we do need, again, and this is something I do say, we do need a standard of some kind to measure against, right? I do think that that needs to exist. Now, I again, it doesn't make. I do think people in general try to get along, but there's no such thing as a perfect system, and I do think you need something from the outside to kind of go, okay, let again, if nothing else to negotiate with, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are nothing else to negotiate sometimes, because there are situations even today where both sides have a point, and it's like, okay, we just can't. We need a resolution somewhere. But what I do think though, this is
So
what
that's always going to mean is that one side has the power over the other, and
sorry,
I just
you
think
go.
that's problematic, like for us in the forever term. Like let's fast forward 1,000 years then. Like I feel like at some point we need to outgrow that limit.
Mm-hmm.
And I, because I can imagine it, I it's therefore possible.
Sure.
It's not like, I'm not saying like, oh, this is gonna happen because we're really not great.
Well, no,
Like
I know, I get where you're coming from. The only thing I would say, I think the paradox, I think the paradox is, there's a bit of a paradox there. I think most of us honestly have a pretty good sense, even now, of what our moral compass should be, right?
really?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I do really think that. I think what happens is it's that like, I think when we say, this is just me thinking about young Josh versus the current Josh. Young Josh needed permission to do shit,
Yeah.
right? There was a little bit of that need from outside that to go for it. Older Josh doesn't really need anyone's permission anymore. He just doesn't give a shit, and he does what he's gonna do. I think the thing is today is, what I realize is, because I have that confidence, I could very easily use it for I could be very malicious with it if I want to be.
Sure.
Right. But
Yeah.
I've also have a degree, at least, of mastering my nature. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. I have flaws, but those flaws, I think, are also magnify my strengths too. It's like anything else. It's the fact that we all, because we do have our shortcomings. Those shortcomings allows us also to shine in ways nobody else can. It's that
Yes.
uniqueness, right? It's that uniqueness. So
Therefore,
I think,
the shortcomings are not shortcomings at all, right?
well, I think of it like salt, like sea salt. Like, that's what I think about it, right?
Okay, tell me what you mean by
So
that.
sea salt, if you ever look at sea salt versus like table salt under a microscope, right? Table salt
Yeah.
looks absolutely perfect. Like, it's perfectly
Yeah,
shaped, flawed.
And
Sea salt doesn't, right?
Yeah.
It's those flaws though in sea salt that allows it to be more absorbable. And the thing is, right, flaws aren't necessarily, like, I don't necessarily think of them in necessarily a negative confrontation. I have limits, and those limits are actually good. It's like even in creativity, the idea of limitation is, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think what it is, okay, this is my container.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm the liquid in the container. Now that liquid it will always take the shape of the container. But if I want to push, or if I wanted to push from within the container, I can sometimes change the shape of the container. I think that's what makes human beings amazing.
Agreed.
Right. So
I mean, my ruler is Saturn, so I'm all about that. And
yeah.
I do believe, like just think about poetry, or like Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
The poetry comes from this structure, or just like simply a haiku. Literally, the container makes the poetry of it, the beauty of it. And otherwise everything would be
yeah.
So structure in itself is an art.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So, and going back to like your thought, while I think the challenge there is, I think we need a structure of some kind for it. I'm not saying it's it's impossible, right? But the paradox is, we grow best when we have structure, of some
Yeah,
kind,
absolutely.
or like
Absolutely.
we grow best.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about is the elimination of that structure in some way. So if you're going to take it out, you have to replace it with something.
I think
And
what the outgrowing of that structure in some way is because of the evolution of ourselves.
Mhm.
Like our conscious, like our consciousness as a species will evolve past like the need to govern each other because we'll be that like evolved.
Mhm. Well, I hope so. I hope so. They're right.
I
Like
mean,
I
that's
said,
like where it would go, right? If we just kept on being, species, like our consciousness kept like evolving, like our we would eventually be much. I just keep coming. I hate this word, but like more mature. Like we would
mhm,
be more, just
mhm.
more. I don't know the right word for it. Evolved, just as a species, and that kind of, and I can see an evolution of that kind of consciousness outgrowing structure. Ultimately,
I hope we
not
get to.
structure, but like the power of others over others. It
Yeah,
wouldn't be needed.
like I said, it's an interesting thought. Like I said, I hope so. Um, I can definitely see the position evolving for sure. Like that,
Yeah, yeah.
like the
Oh
like
well,
the
yeah, yeah.
role of it, I could see very much changing. And I think
Oh yeah.
that's it, that for sure. Will we get rid of it entirely? I'm not entirely there with you on that, but I could
No, I
definitely,
mean, get rid of it's the wrong way. I'm just gonna keep going with like grow out of,
yeah,
and there
yeah,
will be other systems in place. You're right. I'm not saying that. I think I
yeah,
got stuck on the idea of like power over and power, like that kind
yeah.
of idea. Because in ultimateness, also nobody has power over us. So I think the kind of absurdities are gonna like the things that aren't are just gonna be shed away, like a child that doesn't need to be par-
Yeah,
like
yeah.
parented anymore.
I kind of like I said, if you go back to the parenting concept, right? The whole objective is the kid's going to take over the house, but in the meantime, you want to make sure they're ready to do it when you do it. You don't
Yeah,
want to win.
absolutely.
You don't want to win. You won't want the kid to win too early, because if the kid wins too early, then you spoil the kid, and
Well, it's
then
your
there's
responsibility to teach the kid about the house. Like
yeah.
you have to impose that structure upon the kid in order for the kid to be able to like fit,
And,
like grow into out like into himself or herself.
yeah.
um yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, and this is why I said we're going to go back to communities at some point, because
Yeah, we should.
which is because I think the whole thing is, when you look at when you look at the government system as it's gotten bigger, we has disrupted all these little systems that were in
Mm-hmm,
place. If you
mm-hmm.
want to shrink government, then it makes sense that you bring at least some of those little systems back. They may not
Totally
be the
agree.
same. They may not
I
be the
totally
same.
agree.
Yeah, they may not be quite the same systems they were before, and they don't have to be
No,
the same.
definitely not. Yeah, they
But
need to
right,
update, but no, I
yeah.
totally agree with you there. Actually, like I had kind of a epiphany along those lines. Like during 2020,
Mhm.
I had like an artist crisis. Oh God. I was just
Artist
like,
crisis.
I've never been like without inspiration or like full of like ideas that I want to do. And like I just hit that like I hit it like a lot of us were. We're
Sure.
like, what is the meaning of anything? I don't know. But I was just like really like, whoa, I just didn't feel my footing for
Fair.
any like for anything in order to create something. And I feel like I needed like footing on meaning in order to create something with meaning. So I was like going through this like like I don't know everything. And I moved from LA back to Massachusetts where um I grew up, and uh long story short, I ended up like moving to a very small town for um an adventure. And I've never lived in a small town before. And it was like a complete whoa, like this, wow, like, oh, that works. Like people, it's
Mhm.
a community, like the town is a town. like they know each other and they work together, like, and that made me suddenly ha- have faith in like society again.
Mhm.
So I'm right there with you with the small, like with communities for sure.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they have their flaws too. But I mean,
Sure.
I say like, there's no such thing as a perfect system. But one of the things that I realized with when I ended up working for an author, and I ended up in a Mormon community for 2 years. Didn't convert or
Wow, is
anything.
that like,
I ended
wow.
it was a bit of a shell shock, let me tell you. So I got to see the good and bad of a small community in there. So the good of it is, I mean, honestly, you realize when you're in a small town, most people just want to do their thing and be left alone to do their thing, and they're trying to get along because and you get it because everybody's like, this is, I don't have time for like, I don't need this needless shit, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But and you realize that. But now the flip side is, sometimes towns come with like certain expectations of who you're going to be and what you are, and that's why people leave small towns, right? Because they don't fit those expectations. So I got to see both ends of that spectrum while I was there in a bit more extreme way. I truly do believe this. I don't think any one particular faith path should be the extreme in a place. And never, I don't care what it is, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't matter. It's
it tends to
brutal.
not work for us. Extremist, like extremism of any sort of philosophy, be it religious or not, tends to not work out for us. It
Yeah, no,
tends to do bad things.
variety is actually a really good thing. Like, you
It's
want
very much,
variety. Yeah, that's the
yeah.
one thing about a big city. Like, like you lived in LA. I'm currently in Calgary, right? Calgary is like you can put 25 populations of Calgary into LA, right? But I mean, it's one of those things where you just look at it and go like, wow, like there's so much here. And that's what
Mhm.
makes LA cool. Now, what doesn't make LA cool is your highways suck. Like, the highways there are just completely,
Yeah, it's a consequence of it. It's true. I mean, the
yeah.
traffic sucks. The highways are fine. The traffic sucks. Um,
To some degree, it's your highways too, because no,
okay, fair
because
enough. Fair enough.
it's
Yeah,
how they're designed, right? It's how they're
yeah,
designed,
yeah. No, you're right.
right?
You're right. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But like you said, you touched on variety and diversity, and I have been thinking also a lot about, not a lot, but like it's another thing I've just noticed in these last years about in reflection of, the meaning of like the world and everything and us, is like, well, Earth really like Earth holds the biodiversity, is what Earth does. Like
Hmm.
that's her
Hmm.
game, if she's a she. Like, and then when you compare it to like most planets or or like such structures in the universe, it's for sure much like diversity is what this place is all about. Like, and it's how it thrives. Um, so yeah, so I just think that's just something that I like to
Yeah.
remember, is that this is the
Yeah.
way of this Earth, like down to the biology.
Oh, like I said, the 10% is always fascinating, right? And that's what makes it interesting because,
Mm-hmm.
again, the worst thing, the biggest thing I think I hate about social media, and I'm good. Like, this is going to be I'm going to try to make this my habit from here on in, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
like, it's amazing how insular it makes you, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
let it,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
if you let it, and like I said, I think part of it is going back to something you said earlier about the fear. I think it's trying to be comfortable with the fact that, like, there's a part of our world that we can control, and I realize that's what social media
Absolutely.
has become. Is that little bit of the world that you can control, and anything that goes outside that, you can actually you can block it and you can get rid of it. And there's some value in it if it's actually truly disruptive, but it's also come to the point where people can just, you go to that extreme. It's like, hey, listen, you don't see my point of view exactly, screw you, I'm out,
Yeah.
right?
Because it's
And
actually a part of you that you can control.
yeah,
It's just under the facade of the world. Like
yeah,
you're controlling uh your feed basically. I mean, like you're controlling what you see.
Yeah.
and saying that this is the world. That's where, you know, like it's an interesting, I mean, everything really is a reflection of your own perceptions of stuff, but like it's our way of like feeling like we're, you go on social media, like I have control over this thing that I put out there, or
Hmm.
this way that I perceive it, or I'm gonna block you. It's like it is controlling the world, like in in the way that you like ultimately go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm listening to you. Go, keep going. Don't worry about it.
I think social media, it's very interesting. Like social media on one hand is this incredibly beautiful thing, like this connector, this place for expression and again diversity. And then it's like the complete shadow side of that, which is what you're talking about, and even uglier things.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
and I don't know if either side is ever going to go away, so I think it comes down to each person knowing their what their balance and boundaries within it, like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like sometimes I have a day where I'm like social media just like like I abused it and I like I just like, you know, it was a negative experience, but like sometimes it's like a really significantly awesome experience, and a lot
Hmm.
of times that's because of me and how much I'm willing to
Oh,
give into
absolutely.
like whatever. um the aware, you know, like we're aware of like, oh, if I go check my notifications, like I shouldn't be scrolling, da 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 da. But it's another game to like try and to actually curb and control like your impulses
Yeah.
with it. So so yes, and also the flip side.
Oh yeah, I think that's the best way. Going big court. Like that's the thing. Like I don't think it's gonna be amazing where things get get to in a few years. But yeah, social media is what you make of it. I usually put like motivational things in my social media. Like usually you go on my story on Instagram, you'll see what I put on my Facebook in terms of like this is my motivation for the day, and
Yeah,
whatever that might be. And I try to keep it relatively like open to like just encouraging people to like look
yeah,
at the
yeah.
best. Um,
I love
that's
that,
my
and I think that's great because
yeah.
sometimes it really does lift people.
It does. It's genuinely shocking how many people like the thing is you can look at least on Instagram to see who reads your stuff. And it's amazing like some of the people that read my stuff. Like I actually have people from my elementary school days reading my shit,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
just
yeah. I know. I love
that
that too. I know.
yeah.
Same, same. It's awesome. Like, ironically enough, like social media, Instagram particularly, I think when stories came out, like really helped me actually with like my like being myself. Um and here's how. I've always been a weirdo, and like I actually am a shy, introverted person. I've just like, you know, I've gotten a lot more secure and comfortable like as I've grown. And one of the things that really helped me was actually like one day I remember this, like where I was, what time it was, and deciding this. I was like, I can use Instagram, I think it was, like as a practice for me to just be me and like be fine with whatever like that is, just put it out there. So I like literally just practiced like being like good with it. And then um I don't know, it just like I forgot about it because it was then it just was like I just did it, like it became what it became easy. And actually in a lot of like profound connection and even my own self-realizations happen. Now it's like, you know, sometimes I catch myself like, am I, you know, doing, there's always an element of, am I doing this for this kind of uh like, what am I doing this for? Like,
Mhm.
and therefore is it really authentic if I'm like doing it for this reason? Ultimately, I think you can't get that like zoomed in on that particular thing because we are social beings. If you do anything, if you say anything, it doesn't matter if it's online or offline, you are having that element of I'm talking to you, so I'm like I'm talking to you, police officer, so I'm having this kind of thing. Like that's just the nature of socialization. So that's now I'm just trying to be good with whatever still because
I'm just honest. Like again, going just on myself. Like I don't. I think the worst nightmare I've ever had like doing this is being something I'm not. Like when
Yeah.
I like pre 2020, I was a little bit more worried about offending people and hurting people's feelings. Right. I'm not saying I'm going
Yeah.
out of my way to be an asshole, but I'm also unapologetic about what I stand for.
No, that I think, and there's a difference. There's a difference. You're not
Yeah.
going like you can see. It's actually more of an asshole thing in my perspective to not to like to have apologies about what you're saying. Then why are you saying it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead, And if I think that you're an asshole for saying something that you mean, then I'm the asshole. You know what I mean?
Sometimes, yeah, it depends on what I say. I think a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. No.
but
You're right. You're right. You're right.
yeah,
I just
but
found these. Look, these are my. I'm sorry. Total side note. I was like, what the fuck is in my hair? Look at. I put these feathers that I painted in my hair, and I just show you.
nice.
Aren't they cool?
They are.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm showing off how exquisitely detailed they are, but cool.
I see a bit of it. I don't think it's quite doing it justice, but I definitely can see you've worked on them a little bit for sure.
We will get there. You
Yeah.
see? You see that detail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I think I get.
Yes.
No. Hey, I'm gonna give you a compliment. All right. I'm gonna give you a compliment. All right. I hope you take it as it. See. I think honestly, it's not that you're a weirdo. It's just like you are unapologetically you, and that's. And if some people think that's weird, going back to what you said earlier, like me being a vodka, like no.
Yeah.
You're not weird. You're just yourself. Like, look, we all have things. Look, you know what I did today prior to coming in? I was paying a bill. That was why I was late to start this. But I play Commander for Magic the Gathering. I really I enjoy it. Right. So I got excited. I get excited over like this deck I've been building for about 2 months. Right.
That's
so I've been right. It's just like a personal thing. I'm really excited to play the deck. I'm going to be doing that Wednesday. Right. But this is a passion. We all have shit we're passionate about. Why would I think that weird? I mean, it's not as right.
I mean, we all are weird. Like it's again down to the absurdity of what is it? Like I know I say it like kind of like I'm laughing because I just pulled feathers from my hair and then just like made you see the detail.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So like, but I know that we're all really weird.
Yeah, we all obsess over shit.
All very strange because of that 10%. And that's great because, all we can ask for is really that you be yourself. And that means that it's going to be weirder than what I am because I'm not that. So what my normal is going to be weird. And that's great.
But I also ought to take it as a compliment. You know why?
Why?
Because you trust me a little bit more than you've been when we started. And that right. And no, because here's the thing. Like I figured this out when it took me like when I fell in love the first time. My big thought was like I used to be like again when you fall in love the first time, you freak out because first off you don't know what you're feeling, why you're feeling. You're just all over the place. You got no, and you again talking about something I said earlier. You got no control. Like you are on a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And the natural inclination sometimes is to, so love is there's two parts to love. I figure the first part of it is it's accepting people for who they are. And I find the more you trust somebody, the more you show people who they are, right? It's not a question of like I said, that's why I'm genuinely complimented because the thing about it is like in this conversation, we've had a back and forth. We've agreed for the most part, I think. We disagreed a little, but disagreed a little bit, but that's okay. That's part of the process, right?
Yeah,
right?
We had a conversation and
it was and it was fun, right? And it was fun and you enjoyed it. And the thing is, I let you speak and I didn't interrupt you too much, I hope. And the thing about it was, but along the process of this conversation, you said, somewhere in your head, you're like, I'm going to show this guy this, even if it was just an accident, whatever, right? If I was a complete stranger, it'd have been a little bit more self-conscious to do it. So, right. So that's the thing, right? So basically, if there's like if this was in person, right? And I guess I get this impression, and again, we're just going to talk about some of the stuff you do on stage and stuff like that, and other things you do. But I get that you are definitely like, I can see why you enjoy like performing, doing art, that kind of stuff, because it lets you let that stuff out and let people in. And that's again, and when I realized like with that girl wasn't a good fit for me. But one of the things she taught me that I really, really appreciate is I realized that if I really truly do love somebody, or I really, really care about somebody, I'm going to be myself. They're going to be themselves. And
Yep.
it's not going to feel it might be surprising sometimes, but it's not going to feel wrong. And that's, I think, and those are the best relationships.
Absolutely, because if I ask you to be not who you are, that's not loving. You and like you understand, because that's what you're saying. Like I can't, if I truly love you, then I love you. End of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Like, because I can, or otherwise it's I'm in love with my idea of you, which is it happens a lot. I mean, like it's tough. Like we have a lot of we're brought up with we have to unlearn a lot of what we habitually do, like in our brains, that like is not unfair, but like makes us have like, oh, I thought this thing, when we like really misperceive each other because we have an idea of how people are and they turn out not to be.
That's my ninth rule, ironically. Detach from all outcomes.
Yep. Expect nothing, appreciate everything. But
that's a good one too.
It's a daily practice for sure.
Yeah.
Practice. That's my newest tattoo. I just decided to get it. Like I was like, I want to get the practice on my arm.
Yeah. Well, see, and it's strange because I don't think I'm ever going to get a tattoo. See, so here's my theory. Okay. Now again, everybody's different, but here's my theory. I think I can figure your story out just by looking at you. The test is, am I paying attention? Now, there's other reasons to get a tattoo for sure, but I've realized that at least for me, that you can see me for who I am, and you're going to make whatever decision you're going to make about me.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, be for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, exactly. And I don't feel it that way. Like for me, it'll be a book I write, or because that's what I really care about, or what I say to you and mean. That means a lot more to me than like now. That all said, maybe I get to 60 years old and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna tat it right the hell up, right?
Don't get a tattoo if you don't want it on yourself. I literally, it's like neither here nor it's not so.
Yeah.
The tattoos that I have, I love, and I love them. Most of them, especially like the ones earlier on, like nobody can really see because they're on parts of my body that like I've purposely like you don't. But they're for me.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just one of those things that just like for me, just conscious, like I don't think I'm ever going to do it. But that all said, now younger me, real stick in the ass, Bible Belt, all that stuff. Older me is like, and I the Mormon community guys, like the older me was like, you know what? Again, going back to something I said earlier, I really don't know how you got to be to where you're at, and who am I to, and really, who cares? It's important to you, and that's what matters, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but that was a process, right? That was a process.
But that kind of that kind of consciousness there that you just tapped into, that's going back to what I see us evolving to in all aspects. And what you said about love, that's an evolution of consciousness, right? You go from so that's and I'm gonna have to go. I'm sorry, in like 5 minutes.
Oh, darn. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Have me
Yeah.
back on for 2002.
Well, I hope I get you on a little sooner than that, right? I hope I get you on a little sooner than that.
Was not a joke, was a serious no.
Yeah. But okay, so before you disappear, I want to just, we should do this properly, but before we disappear, right? Do you
Sure.
got anything you'd like to plug? Like anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, oh goodness. Yeah, because I will update you with anything I have to plug. I have a show coming, whatever. I've got a bunch of things. Like following me is the best thing to do.
Just your full name on Instagram?
Give me a dragon across the platforms.
Give me a dragon?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this and then I'll let you go. Why give me a dragon?
Yeah, because so back in ancient maps or like old maps wherein not all of the world had been discovered, where those parts that were unknown to the map to everybody, would be a dragon would be put there. You know, and you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, dragons, like on old maps, I remember seeing those. That's why those were there. It's unknown. Sorry.
I get it. I literally get it. Here there be dragons. Yeah. Appeals to you.
Yep. Here be bonus. Yeah. Yes, it does. That and slay the dragon kind of thing. So both this idea of like facing the dragon and the great unknown, and bring. Also, I love dragons. They're pretty awesome.
My first book is actually about a guy enslaved by dragons, and he actually kills one and goes into the wilderness. It's called, I accidentally got it published traditionally, so we'll have to talk another time.
Definitely.
So Miss Keight, I want to thank you. This was I just a whim just told me to ask you to come on the show. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for asking me. I will give you I have my journal. I've had my journal out in front of me this whole time. It's also strange, like there are a lot. But I'm going to do bibliomancy. Here's your fortune, okay? And this is how bibliomancy works. Just stay with me. Bibliomancy is a form of divination, like, you know, tarot cards or runes or whatever, that I love because it's fun, where you like open a book, point to a random place in a random page, and that's like the fortune. It's just fun with my journals because it's my journal.
Yeah, that's okay.
So here's your fortune. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. All this existing energy and intuition and inner, oh my goodness, inner something, inner actions owns this like positive spheres. Very difficult to read my hand. That made sense, right?
For the most part.
I'm gonna have to figure out what the context is. But you don't get the context. That's what you get as like your Delphi Oracle at Delphi process.
Okay, alrighty. So listen, this is Miss Keight, ladies and gentlemen, right? So I had a blast. And I know she did too, because as time has gone on, she's opened up more and more. I would have loved it. On a personal note, I definitely hope we actually be on the podcast. I definitely hope we get to meet sometime in person. I think he'd be a hoot. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, let me finish the show. Everybody watching, everybody listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.